Welcome to Masculine Geek, where men gather to discuss life, love, and...
Oh, that's weird. It failed to play the video clip. Let's try this again.
Welcome to Masculine Geek, where men gather to discuss life, love, and all things geek. And unlike most YouTube channels, we don't beg for super chats. We don't play cutesy little sound bites. That crap is lame and feminine. We're men swapping notes and gathering together for men talk. We don't whine about politics or trendy red meat topics. That's juvenile 13th grade garbage. Masculine geeks are men of courage and honor that gather together to discuss our hobbies and interests. Get on board, gentlemen.
Get on board indeed. All right, everyone. Welcome to Masculine Geek number 275. This is a Plan B. This is Fireside Chats. This was supposed to be the AD&D Drew Bay campaign, but Drew had other things to take care of, so he had to bail. So you're getting us tonight, the adventures, and we're just going to briefly chat and hang out for about an hour, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. We'll see what happens. So, welcome, gentlemen. How's everybody doing?
I'm living the dream, gentlemen.
There you go.
Fantastic. Living through the heat down here in Dallas, and just finished day 6 of 7 12-hour shifts straight.
Wait, what?
I worked 12-hour shifts, and I just did 6 of 7 straight. Tomorrow's my last day before I go on my weekend.
Oh, shit. You got to be tired.
A little bit. You looking forward to tomorrow?
God damn.
I'm looking forward to 6 p.m. tomorrow when I punch out and hop out on the bike and start hiding home.
Yeah, seriously. How long of a drive is it?
It's 44 miles. So mornings I get there about 40 minutes. Evening about hour to hour and a half.
Okay. That's very exhausting, actually.
I'm glad it's a liquid-cooled, not an air-cooled bike.
Yeah, right. Yeah, my commute is around 62 miles round trip.
Hopefully in the fall I'll be closer to work. I'll sell this place.
Yeah, you were saying. Okay.
Yeah, that's the plan. I'm gonna pay off some debts and then rent a place for a year, wait for the interest rates to come down. Then if I like the place, offer to buy it. If not, I'll get a realtor and look around.
That makes sense. That's a good idea.
Yeah, commutes suck. Most of my life's been commuting, at least an hour, up to 3 hours each way.
Oof.
For my
3 hours.
I can't complain. They gave me a 6% raise. So.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
And they're gonna do a promotion interview next month. So I won't see the promotion until October.
Still, that's really good.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Cheers. And how are you, Robert?
I've got a lot going on, so it's yeah. I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time out to be here.
Not a problem.
Despite the fact that we got screwed out of our game
again.
God damn it, Drew!
I was upset. Like
I know.
Rolo canceled, and you're like, Plan B, Drew, and then it's like, Drew, 6 hours before the show. Hey guys, I gotta cancel. Like, motherfucker.
I gotta show Robert my shaft.
Oh, I saw it, but the audience didn't. So please share it again. It's really cool.
I knew you were gonna do that. That's fucking awesome. That's a cool hammer.
Nice. That is nice.
Yeah.
Now you were saying you could use that to actually forge.
Yeah, this is actually a single jack. Yeah.
Okay.
It's been polished by some wonderful Chinese and Indian folks, and then engraved, and then you can see the carved Odin.
Oh yeah.
On the single jack handle. So it's pretty, it's like 7 pounds, 8 pounds. So it's legit. Like I said, it's quite a shaft.
It is a very interesting shaft.
I'll just sit right here, guys, during the game.
Oh my God. You get
right. That's how you get demonetized and banned from YouTube. We're playing with a shaft.
We're already demonetized anyway, so
it's a tool. Come on.
Literally.
That's got to do more than 1d4 points of damage.
I'd say it's 1d4 plus 3.
Exactly.
There's some magic in that tool.
As long as I'm not throwing sixes.
As long as I'm against females, there's an enchantment that goes along with that.
Yeah. You did really good on your return to D&D, Thor.
Oh, thank you, man. I was really
that was
worried,
cool.
too. It's been too many years, and I don't really remember the rules that well.
Well, that's why we have us to help you. But it's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
Thanks. I really enjoyed it, too.
Cool.
You know? Yeah. Drew's a good dungeon master. Very descriptive, and
I like his
beautiful
style.
picture, you know? It makes all the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, he weaves interesting descriptions.
Yeah,
for sure.
And his pace, I love it. That fast breakneck pace that he runs us at is nice.
Well, with this medium doing the game, I mean, if we were just hanging out for the weekend, gaming all weekend, drinking, eating pizza, and chilling out, it would be a little bit different, and how we do things would probably be just a little bit different. Although I'm sure Drew would still be performing, and
it'll be a
very
little slower because
stuff.
we'd have actually a map.
Yeah,
to go by. That's why Rollo's game is a little slower
because he's moving us around on the Photoshop.
He's moving us around, but also we can see like a chessboard. We're slower in our reaction times and our reaction decisions. Like, oh, okay, well, that's there. This is here. So I mean, that's helpful to actually have the map and not just have theater of the mind. But I do like I like both extremes that Rollo and Drew have together. So it's nice.
Is there D&D software? I'm surprised Wizards of the Coast didn't offer that.
Oh, there is.
okay.
There's Roll20 and a few other smaller software companies that have freeware for that. I don't know how well that integrates into a StreamYard live stream.
I had no idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're doing now is fine with me.
Yeah. Of course. I figured they'd come out with some kind of player aid or DM aid, though. Not video game, but aids.
Yeah, like you create a custom map or buy a custom map and show it up.
Well, I don't know. The way they were talking about this new edition of D&D, it almost sounds like a subscription service via the internet and some other stuff.
Oh, that fell through.
Yeah, but I mean, that's where they were. One of the things they were talking about, especially when they were killing all the redoing the rules for OSR supplements and stuff like that. So I mean, that kind of stuff's been in the work, especially here recently. And I'm sure if Hasbro or Wizards can find a way to, the ink on the books you buy fade over the course of a year, so you have to buy a new book every year to resubscribe to
all
D&D,
the binding that's coming out with hardbacks is basically garbage these days.
Yeah.
I mean, right here with my Dungeon Master's Guide that I got for Christmas back in 83, 84. I mean, it's still solid.
It's a normal book. Yeah.
It's you know.
I have an even older edition and it's still the same way. So it's
Even my 3rd edition books are holding up well, and they've been moved all over the country in different weather and all that stuff.
Yeah. It's the quality of the paper is pretty much non-existent. They're using inferior industrial ink. It's just crap.
Yeah, so I'm surprised they haven't pushed into, like you said, a subscription service where it's like Baldur's Gate, and you set up like open world games and things like that.
Just very, very much like Diablo 3.
Yeah,
same thing. Pay for the upgrades.
Pay to play.
They'd probably get quite a few folks, I imagine, in today's environment.
Well, and for the most part, when that's all you have, those are your options. If you want to play, you have a tendency to capitulate and compromise.
Yeah,
and I'm not honestly sure that these people that are supportive of the current product actually play. They may support the product or the messaging of the product, but they don't necessarily actually play the game. So,
well, there's that too. Yeah.
Is Wizards of the Coast woke now, though?
They've been woke. They've been woke for almost 2 decades now. Almost 2 decades now.
That's one reason why I stopped playing Friday Night Magic and went to.
So that brings me back to 1980. Maybe Dungeons and Dragons was Satan. Was satanic worship.
That definitely helped their bottom dollar. That's for sure, because their numbers increased as far as sales after those media incidences.
They did, and they were prolific in the 80s, right? Late 70s.
Yeah, they tanked in '83 when Gary Gygax was ousted, and they brought in Lorraine, Deal, Williams.
Didn't they do some hit pieces on Gary too?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I try to discredit him.
It's like that one game magazine, online game magazine, going after what's his name? OG Blizzard employee, Mike Kern. Mike Kern.
Yeah,
like
the guy that got
Hey, somebody's got their wolf handy.
Your pup.
Sorry, I'm turning the mic off because she's barking because someone's walking around outside the house. She's very protective of the house.
That's a good thing.
And dogs are good things. Dogs are good, man. Dogs are good. Mm-hmm. They're amazing little animals.
I've had her since she was 8 weeks old, and now she's 4.5.
Okay.
If you pause and think about it for a minute, we manipulated their genetics. We made them, and they would not fit well back in the wild. They're very dependent upon us. Pretty crazy. We got that.
Luckily, they're not pissed about it.
Well,
no.
I know, huh?
Yeah,
unlike another species.
Right.
Well, and I was reading somewhere, I don't know nearly enough about the differences between the fathering instincts of wolves in the wild versus the fathering instincts of dogs, which is pretty much non-existent. I mean, dogs hit it and quit it because, generally speaking, the pups are always isolated from them anyway, and
right.
and they're not, the pups are taken by other humans and into other families once they're weaned. So they have had for pretty much thousands of years now absolutely no reason to have any kind of fathering instincts with their own offspring. And so it's interesting that there were enough similarities between human family units and tribes and wolf packs that the integration, once it happened, there were some similarities there to help facilitate that. And then once that cycle started, it just, I think humans have gone to the stars or done this, done that, internet, AI, whatever. Honestly, I think our greatest achievement as a species is the domestication of the gray wolf into dogs, because that's the greatest thing men have ever done. Because out of all the things in life, it's like that scene in Conan, not women, not beasts, this you can trust with the riddle of steel. The only other thing that's ever loyal to you is your dog.
Great.
Talk about genuine desire. That's your dog.
I use that analogy to explain to my friends what the difference between unconditional love is and conditional love.
Yeah.
Throw your girlfriend or your wife in the trunk, drive around erratically for a half hour, let her out, see how she reacts. Do the same thing with your dog, see how they react.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're rewriting kind of the whole science around how we manipulated them. In Russia, you guys seen the documentary on the foxes, the wild foxes?
Yes, the ones that they bred the more friendly and docile.
3 generations, and they had dogs.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah. Yeah, their tails have changed, their ears changed, as well as their disposition. But they also were breeding the aggressive ones with aggressive ones, and those things are like rabid, wild. I mean, just they're like rage foxes. It's
almost like those dogs are so plastic. They were meant to survive evolutionary pressure so quickly. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, Robert, is we need to get Grat, one of those rabid foxes, as his animal companion when we do a Rolo campaign.
Oh well, Grat already has his companion.
Badger.
Yeah, he has his
Benny.
badger.
Yeah, Benny.
He has Benny the badger, so he's already
Benjamin.
Which I think is funny because in both games, although Vince is playing a fighter in one, a half-orc fighter in one, and a human mage in the other, in both games he basically has a familiar or animal companion.
I think they're awesome, and they definitely add to the game.
Yeah.
Benny's cool. Carl is fun with his stinger.
Yeah.
Definitely comes in handy.
I need my 4-pound Wilbur the war dog. That
you can buy him.
that he has at will lycanthropy. My little 4-pound Chihuahua is all black. Name's Wilbur.
Wilbur's awesome.
Fitch brought his
Wilbur.
dog.
Oh, Christ.
I think his name is Zuto, and he has 110-pound all black bull mastiff. They look
Beautiful
like
dog.
literally one was in a shrink ray and one was in a large ray. Both the friendliest dogs. It's so cool. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. 110 pound and so nice. It's amazing.
Yeah, my war dog is a 55-pound silver golden doodle. He has
Those are good dogs.
Yeah, he has a curly fur like a poodle. Although I do not get him cut like a poodle.
Right.
But his hair is like black, but he has all these silver highlights and phantom markings on him. And he was supposed to be my youngest son's dog, but he imprinted on me something fierce, and he is absolutely my dog. And we were visiting some relatives over in Ohio, and some other family members were there, and they were there with their 2 golden retrievers, a male and a female. The female was in heat.
Oh, no.
Rocky noticed that right off the bat. Now, they were hoping to breed their male and their female together, but the female just is kind of like over the male dog and really wanted nothing to do with him and wouldn't let him do anything. And that breeding wasn't successful. But while they were visiting, that bitch kept coming over and rubbing up against me and rubbing up against Rocky, and like she was all about like getting him to do something. And the male golden retriever was like getting kind of growly and like not real happy about it. And Rocky's like
cock blocked.
Rocky's just completely not impressed. He's like, yeah, whatever, bark all you want, but this bitch is mine if I want her.
Yeah, man. Like, behavior is so similar when you see it.
Oh yeah,
ones that drive. I love the wolf studies, all of them, and I love how the guy that came up with the wolf studies that created the alpha and the beta and all that stuff. He rescinded all of his stuff after 30 years, 35 years, because he only studied the wolves in captivity.
Yeah.
And they couldn't replicate it. And in the wild, they act completely different. I guess he's still working on the papers for the wild wolves. Pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Coda. You guys have seen her on X. I've posted her around.
Yeah.
So she's half Dutch Shepherd. Her mom's purebred Dutch Shepherd. Her dad was half St. Bernard, half Dalmatian. On her mom's first heat, like maybe 8 months old, if that, her dad mounted her right as the owner of the pair was coming home from work, and he's like, "Oh no, George!" Fucking pulled her off. Yeah, he's like pulling George away from Freya. That's the mother's name. Yeah. And Freya's being dragged behind him, pretty much. He dies 3 weeks later from cancer. So his last hurrah was her first heat, produced 9 puppies.
Good.
70-pound Dutch Shepherd, pretty much.
Wow.
They're only supposed to be like, females are only supposed to get up to 35 pounds.
I am thoroughly convinced that the biggest thing I think that would help guys, read Rollo's books, read Ryan, whatever. Get yourself a dog and get yourself a male dog and watch how your dog reacts with other dogs, females, males, whatever, and just observe. Because honestly, I think you could learn a lot. At least the guys that need to learn this stuff, that the ones that the how do you get the girls guys that are always on Let It Burn on Thursday nights with Rob and Bullrush and them. It's like, get yourself a dog and just watch. It's not that difficult. No matter how evolved we are as a species, we're still animals, and the game is pretty much universal for mammals.
We can learn it.
Placental mammals.
Yeah.
Let's say get yourself a dog and a cat.
Yeah, you can learn a lot about loyalty too.
Yep. Dog and a cat.
Yeah.
It's surprising how intelligent they actually become if you put the time into it. It's like the more time you put, the more intelligent they become. It's really quite amazing. It's like they have an antenna and they tune into your desires that actually extends beyond maybe even the physical realm. It's pretty
you pretty much get what you give.
Yeah.
They can almost anticipate even when they can't see or smell you. It's absolutely stunning when you get a trained dog.
Yeah, there is something that seems almost supernatural there. And one of the things that's interesting is comparing dogs and their relationship with human beings to another member of the great ape family, whether it's chimpanzees or bonobos, who are only like 30 chromosomes different from us.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between us and them is less than the difference between a donkey and a horse.
Yeah.
So, but the dog's evolved ability to read not only our tonal inflection, but our facial expressions, it's remarkable how they are able to do that, whereas the animal closest to us genetically absolutely cannot. Our facial expressions to a chimp or a gorilla
meaningless
well worse, are misinterpreted,
right?
And will come across as threats or aggression or a challenge to them when they're not. It's like people that stare, gorillas have very soulful eyes. Worst thing you can do is stare a gorilla in the eye, because as much
rip your nuts off.
Yeah, because they will perceive that as you challenging or threatening them. So yeah, but it's just here are these beasts that are so close to us genetically, but as far as social cues go and facial cues, they can't do it. Dogs absolutely can, instinctively, because they've been bred to do so. And
there's something about them. I mean, I got two examples that I think, Robert, you'll probably agree with this. There's something that's almost supernatural. They reach into, who knows, maybe it's the ether, whatever it is. They're like an antenna, and they can pick up signals. And I had this little 4-pounder. He attached onto the wife before she got hurt. He was very attached to her. She literally could be 6 miles away, and he would go and start scratching and barking at the door. And he's always done that. He'll do that to this day if she's in somebody's car and coming up after 2 hours being gone. To this day, he'll bark 5 minutes before she arrives. He can't possibly be hearing. He can't possibly be smelling. What's going on with this little dude? And then I got another story that's kind of expresses how emotional they actually are. She got her neck broke, become very immobile as a quad. So she lays in bed. She's pretty immobile, and she was going through her toughest times. And this little dog, I trained him. He knows his toys. He's got 20 of them. He knows the names. He would bring 3 of them every morning and set them around her as she's getting up. Okay. He's a dog. He's throwing his toys around, right? After about a month in this, I kind of noticed he was laying down and he was looking at her face. And I noticed all the toys have eyes. It set them at different angles, and all of them were looking at her in the face.
That's creepy in a way.
And I went, okay. I got to test this. So I tested it for a week. He was doing it every day. I started taking pictures. I got video of it. He would set his toys up so that they're staring at her face. And it is like, holy crap, these little animals, that's got to be an emotion that he's expressing,
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how to read it other than, get over here. I'm going to give you a dog treat. You're a good dog,
Oh yeah. And it is there's just something about the relationship that defies our current level of scientific understanding, because like with the coming home thing, it's more than just, well, you come home from work every day at around 5 o'clock kind of a thing. So they know that, at 4:45 to start looking for you. No, you can be someone who has a schedule that's very erratic and not on a discernible pattern. But when you get within a certain distance that is beyond even their amazing magnificent sense of smell, which is phenomenal. But I mean, it's beyond that range for them to differentiate. And certainly, you know, in a vehicle that even if they recognize that vehicle pulling up, you're still miles and miles away, and there's enough ambient noise around that there's no way they're going to be able to discern that, you know, because there's so many other cars on a similar frequency between here and there to do, but and it's amazing, and they're not able to explain that yet.
Yeah, I mean, dogs are obviously force sensitive.
Yes. Real force sensitive, not Disney force sensitive.
Is the force a bitch?
Well, according to Kathleen Kennedy, the force is female, so yeah, that would make it so. But yeah,
space witches.
Yeah,
I mean, isn't the theme of the Acolyte is 2 lesbian Jedis are using the force to impregnate one of them?
Yeah. But just think of how great the Acolyte porn's going to be in the next month or so.
It won't be better than the actual show, which I haven't even watched yet. So,
well, I think that was the case with the Captain Marvel movie. The porn actress they got to play the female Captain Marvel was actually looked more like the character than the actress that Hollywood hired and
Brie Larson.
Budget. Yeah, so
CGI asked her.
Yeah. So
she doesn't have an ass. She doesn't want to get a BBL, which I respect, but they had to fucking give her a CGI ass.
Yeah, that's just crazy. But you know, that's the thing. It's one of the things Vince and I like to do is, you know, obviously there are entire channels on YouTube that all they do is consume this crap so that they can slag on this crap and make a buck. Yep. Vince and I would much rather tell you why, you know, Rio Bravo is an absolutely amazing movie and probably one of the greatest Westerns ever made, or why Kelly's Heroes is one of the best D&D games ever made, and so on and so forth.
Yes, it is.
Because there's tons
I'll die
of stuff.
On that hill.
Yeah, there is tons of stuff that is worth liking that a lot of guys don't even know about, especially when it comes to like reading material, as far as, you know, Doc Savage and The Shadow and you know, Robert Howard's writing beyond Conan the Barbarian, which is still amazing, but there's Solomon Kane.
Yes, there is.
And Bran Marn and
King
you know,
Cole.
And Cull the Conqueror. So I mean, yeah, we would much rather spend an hour on a Wednesday night talking about stuff we like dogs.
Oh, Valdez is coming. That's a good Western too.
Yeah.
Or that post I got with you and Vincent, Robert, the one about Flash Gordon. I watched that movie. That movie came out way before I was even born, but that is a classic. Great soundtrack.
Oh, it's an epic movie. It's
even the series was good back in black and white.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. We would much rather do that, and you know, maybe we would have a bigger audience if we, you know, consume the latest product and bitched about it every, you know, Wednesday night, but that's just not us. Life is too short, especially for guys as old as Vince and I. So we would much rather, if we're not gaming, we'd much rather spend an hour talking about things that we like and think other guys should know about than.
I get that every once in a while red meat can be entertaining.
Yeah.
And,
well, yeah, and if something gets brought up,
it's like dessert after a good meal. But you know what? Constantly, and some of you guys in the chat are guilty of this because I've seen you on other podcasts. You're regulars. When I drop in, I can see the same faces. You guys are guilty of it as well.
Yeah.
Just an observation, not a criticism. But stop that shit.
Well, and it's different. I mean, if TJ was here and wanted to talk about why he absolutely loves the Blues Brothers, well, Vince is not going to have any of it and has a rebuttal for it.
No, I'll do this.
You know, guys,
I actually have some. Wait, I have something for that. Okay. Hang on. Let's see. I have a scrolling thing for that. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here it is, right here.
Yeah, there's bottom of the screen.
The Blues Brothers.
Yeah. So I mean, we don't all agree on the stuff we like, even, and we're not shy about sharing our opinions on stuff. But in general,
sure can tell you what to do when you're in my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? Get out of here, see?
I know that Vince is a little older, but when I was a young man, my dad would let me stay up till 9 o'clock to watch the original Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
And he always told me that they had a formula with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that Kirk got to kick ass and then he got to piece ass. So every episode was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it was true. You know,
even though you knew it's like watching a detective show.
Yeah.
You know that the detective's going to solve the mystery. You've probably figured it out in the first 15 minutes because they always show you between 2 and 3 characters that could be the perpetrator. But it doesn't matter. The story, that formula just works and always has. It goes back to Aristotle and poetics and setting up stories.
Yeah, the process was exciting, and the character development, you invested in them. You know, aside from the Star Trek thing, I was very young. It was early 70s. I went to the first or the second Star Trek convention. My dad was a Trekkie, and he took us as a family. And my point was, you could go there and you could see comic books. It was here in LA. I want to say it might have been one of the first Comic Cons, but it was actually a Star Trek convention. I was pretty young, maybe 14. And they had D&D, they had all this stuff. It was kind of a conglomeration of everything, but it was under a Star Trek convention. And the stars would come and sign things. But one thing I noticed, and maybe it's just my youth, but I've been to a few conventions since then. And then today, the difference between then and today is there's a lot of in your face. Well, I am the way I am, you know, and you need to know that I'm space lesbian. And back then, nobody cared. It was like, oh, good for you. And
the only thing that has not changed, the only thing that has not changed is the bad hygiene.
Yes.
And not wearing fucking deodorant.
Yeah.
It's not changed from the 60s and 70s until now.
Yeah.
At the convention.
Yeah, I noticed it wasn't a front and center issue. It seems like it's a front and center issue. And the reason I say that is my brother does horror conventions and stuff like that. It becomes a front and center issue.
Well, there's a reason for that. When you get women and corporations involved, it ruins it. I'll die on that hill. I don't fucking care.
Yeah,
look at Games Workshop.
Yeah, when it was a fringe thing that was not a part of popular culture, that was more underground, and not that there weren't females that were into this stuff, because I mean, hell, there are pictures from like very early like world cons of a girl dressed as like Mary Marvel or some kind of Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers serial era space princess. But the point is, they were there either because the male they were with were really into it, or they were one of those rare unicorns that were into it of their own volition and interest and inclinations, and were there to enjoy it, not to change it to something else, but because they actually liked it too.
They were there as guests.
Yeah.
And they were there as guests.
Let me ask you this, Vince and Robert. Do you think Stranger Things was bad for D&D or better or helped D&D?
I think it was indifferent to D&D.
Yeah.
Because D&D now is D&D now is synonymous with the woke culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say Critical Role and those kind of things are probably more of an influence on that group of people playing D&D than Stranger Things or Big Bang Theory or
that
any
Stranger
of that kind of
Things,
stuff.
Stranger Things, and even going back to that scene in E.T. That harkened back to that time period. That gave you a snapshot in time of E.T. was that's what D&D players were at that time. That was the 80s, and that's when D&D had its heyday.
Yeah.
But I mentioned this before.
Of course, they were playing at the house that had the hot mom. So
exactly,
yeah, which you did.
Yeah, pretty much. But I mentioned this before. The 5 great artists, Caldwell, Elmore, and the other, of course, now the other 3 are escaping me. But that's fine. There were 5 major artists that were doing work for TSR at the time. It was a boys' club. They were joking around. They were all in one room having fun, churning out the art, staying late, and shit got done. And it was a creative renaissance for them. And then
even though they were gaming at work.
Yeah, exactly.
They still got
you got to test the product, right?
Yeah, exactly. They still got shit done. And then they introduced businessmen and women into the mix that didn't give a shit about the game, didn't care, and in some instances hated the game and were there to take it down very, very
maliciously
and on the sly.
Mm-hmm.
There was an instance where one of these businessmen came into the artists area and said, well, we got this big project that you're working on. We know this is, we want you to do this well. We want you, actually said this, we want you to use all the colors.
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea what I do.
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea what art is. Get the fuck out of here. So when you that, and I'll die on this hill too. If you have a creative endeavor, a creative business,
yeah,
for the most part, do not bring in someone that does not share your vision.
Yeah,
just do not do it. You're basically going to chop your own dick off.
Yeah,
that's just what's going to happen. You cannot trust people that do not share your vision and are not in your wheelhouse.
That's one of the reasons that Elon Musk is called such an asshole, because he just gets rid of people that don't share his vision and go all in.
Yeah. Well, it's like even down to something as simple as you're familiar with the convenience stores, Wawas.
Yeah.
That guy never went public.
Really?
Yep.
Good.
And that's why he's still thriving to this day. And one of the reasons why, and people have asked this, I think I mentioned this before, the doors to Wawa are not automatic. And several people over the years have asked why that is. And he's like, well, I want people to hold the door for people so they interact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually,
and it's true. It's cool. It's cool that we do that, because I'm in a Wawa every morning to get coffee on my way to work.
Probably why Quick Trip does it down here the same way. There's no automated doors.
Exactly. Yeah, they took the same blueprint.
Well, you certainly lose your company when you go public. It's not yours anymore. Even if you have controlling shares, there's ways for the board to prevent you with your pay package from acquiring more. It's a very tricky thing. Private is much better. And then there's the tremendous pressure to join the WEF so that you can have an ESG score and get cheap operating capital.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really horrible system if you look into it. People are starting to become aware of it now, because so many people have screamed about it, and it's kind of too late though.
Right. Well, here's an example of that. I believe it was Alan Ladd Jr. at 20th Century Fox. He is the one who green-lighted Star Wars when everyone else told George no.
Yep.
He green-lighted it. It wasn't expected to be a hit. Hopefully it would make a little bit of money. It was made on what was at the time over budget, on a shoestring budget for it. And here it is. He greenlit this thing no one else believed in. It was a massive hit, made lots of money for Fox, obviously lots of money for George Lucas. A phenomenon that there are few other examples in history with which to compare it to, certainly in cinema. And Alan Ladd Jr. gets fired from 20th Century Fox by the board. He gets kicked out as president. Yep. Why? Because the deal that was negotiated for Lucas didn't make Fox more money. It wasn't supposed to make them any money. The deal was made so that they didn't lose very much. And if it did make a little bit, they would obviously get a piece of that. But they didn't have ownership of Star Wars. So it wasn't 20th Century Fox product. It was Lucas's product. So they got the distribution rights, and they got a percentage of the profits after a gross point was reached. So they made a lot of money, but they didn't own it and make all the money. And so they got rid of him, even though they would have never have made the movie and made any money whatsoever had it not been for Alan Ladd Jr.
Somebody
being
had
the
an
one
axe to grind
person to
too, I'm
believe
sure.
it. So, yeah.
Somebody had an axe to
So,
grind.
A lot of these corporations definitely have that servant leadership model that they follow and lead by committee. That's for sure. Have you, back to Vince's point, when women enter these spaces and start leading, it's an issue. I mean, I really dug into Marissa Mayer from 2012, 2017. She was elected as the CEO from the outside, as Yahoo's CEO, and their stock was fantastic when she took on. She tanked the whole company into bankruptcy, and I have the history on it. And one of the big reasons was that she revamped the entire HR compensation system and the hiring system, and it was to modern woke standards. It was full. It wasn't called DEI at the time, but it was so detailed. I mean, you can read about it in my book, but that is that style of leadership that is commonly adopted. And there, I have example that happens. And here's the thing: if you're not convinced there's not a gynocentric social order, she's still out there working in corporate America today after tanking $1 billion company. Verizon had to rescue it. Yeah.
Well, didn't the same thing happen with HP when that chick was running for president?
Yeah, I got that one. There's a few examples I use, but not so much to disparage the women, because we can overdo that. It was that their style is very emotional. So parts that they think they're doing good, like that girl thought she was doing good because it was fair. But unfortunately, in that corporate environment, nothing is fair. And the bottom line is you got to be successful. You got to put food on everybody's table or nobody eats. And sometimes that means somebody's got to go, to save the company. And you don't just grab those people. You don't pick up your worst actor and make him a leader. That's been done sometimes successfully, but that is not a good way to do it. And there's just lots of examples out there. And I'm seeing it almost every day. If I pick up YouTube and watch or listen to any business channel, it's quite entertaining, actually. Once you can see, you can't.
Once you see the code, the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. And a point to X Runner, Wawa sandwiches are fucking awesome, especially when it comes into the fall and winter season with Thanksgiving and Christmas, and you've got the Wawa turkey gobbler. Holy shit!
What is it?
It's essentially slices of turkey with gravy. And you can put mashed potatoes if you want, or you can get stuffing on a hoagie roll, a toasted hoagie roll.
Oh,
holy crap! What you're good for the weekend if you eat one of those, especially one of the larger hoagie rolls. Your caloric intake is all set. But they are a treat, and I usually get 2 a month in the months of October, November, and December.
We don't have that here in California.
Oh man, I need to FedEx you one.
I had like a breakfast brisket quesadilla from Wawa when I was in Orlando last, and that was delicious.
Yeah. Oh, they're so good. When Aaron was out here, I told him, I was like, look, you're gonna have the best hoagie on the East Coast you've ever had. And he agreed with me when he had of course he had to get the receipt so he could write it off as a tax deduction.
Duh.
Bastard.
Well, my appetite's bad.
He's like, I'll buy this. I got this. And he asked the cashier for a receipt, and I looked at him like, you son of a bitch. You're gonna write that? He's like, yeah, hell yeah, I am.
Yeah, that's the one nice thing about Aaron is he'll treat you because you're a tax write-off.
Oh yeah, he doesn't care. He's gonna get the receipt and itemize that crap. He's like,
so he's the one that bought all those cigars for those guys when he was down here.
He'll make sure you're the tax receipt.
Oh no, he didn't buy. No, Aaron didn't buy cigars. No.
Oh, well, I'm talking about when he was down here a couple months ago and hanging out with Nuke and Megatron.
Oh, that's absolutely why he saved those receipts and he wrote them off because at some point he's honest. So at some point during your visit with him, he probably talked something vaguely involving business. Correct?
Yep.
Yes.
So that's how.
Yeah, that's just how he is.
Karmic wise, he has to justify it.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that. So yeah, so you were used. How's that feel?
Well, I haven't had the pleasure of hanging out with Clary. I've had a couple interactions with him through MLD's program. I'd like to meet up with him and talk to him about his books, just because I love his books. The three I've read.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he totally helped me when he came and visited me. He completely discouraged me from writing books.
And I'm sure that
He was right.
I'm sure he bought you dinner and talked business briefly and wrote it off.
No, I did. He was fantastic. It was he was right though. He gave me a lot of pointers and it was all really hard.
No, he knows his stuff. I joke up with him all the time, but Aaron's a good friend.
Yeah,
And
actually,
you know exactly where you stand with Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have done that good without what he had said and looked for, because I would have overlooked it. So,
Yeah, when it comes to the mathematics of things, accounting or otherwise, Aaron is very solid, and you can trust his numbers. And I would be one of the first. Obviously, I do not live a very Spartan existence when it comes to my hobbies and my collection of things. Yeah, I am not going to turn my camera on right now, but I mean, obviously, if you watch the show, I have a few things, and it's not a CGI background.
Yeah,
I will actually reach behind me and grab the vintage D&D box set from 1980 and pull it off the shelf, or the Star Frontiers box from the table behind me, or whatever. But
that was crazy when you show behind the camera.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. So there it is.
hey,
The game the game that Lorraine Williams at TSR killed, despite it being popular and successful, because she had copyrights on Buck Rogers and wanted to make that the science fiction game for TSR.
Well, she really did not like Gygax or anyone else there, and she did not like D&D.
No, but anyway, yeah. But he's dead on living a minimalist existence. It's just what works best for you, and Vince and I like to enjoy our things. We appreciate our art, we appreciate our books, our music. I don't know if I would say we're Renaissance men in that way, but we're certainly sensuous, pleasure seekers that enjoy those things in life, because God knows we experience the not so pleasant things. So why wouldn't you enjoy those sensual delights in music and art and literature and the company of women, and
cocaine and strippers, right?
Yeah. So sometimes you have to enjoy that stuff. But no, I mean, obviously
you're hitting the nail on the head though, Robert. Like for me, like I've been in the sphere for 3 years. Most of the masculinity coaches, dating coaches, whatever you want to call them, PUAs, they all pretty much like, no, you don't have time for the fun stuff. And that's why I love Vince and you, Robert, is like, you guys are like, no, you can live that masculine coach lifestyle and enjoy the finer things at life at the same time. You don't need to be so brutal or utilitarian.
Correct.
Yeah. And you'll find that's what I like about this group of guys that are here. When I went to these guys understand discretion, and almost everybody out there that is an influencer does not understand it. Even guys we know, and it causes a lot of issues. And I'm talking about everything: business, taxes, relationships. Discretion's a very underrated virtue that can be exercised to basically extend your power, your influence in a good way. When people know that you have discretion, say anything.
Not only that, but not biting the hand that fed you. I've seen that. It's going on now.
Yep. Big time.
There are some people that I genuinely like and respect. It's like, yeah, you're getting muted. I'm not gonna block you, but I'm muting you. This is ridiculous. I don't feel like seeing this. Talking about not talking about something is fucking talking about it.
I know.
Yeah, which is a very woman thing to do,
isn't it? Though
it really is. Yeah, it's unbelievable. You guys, if you're watching this, any of you that this triggers you, stop that. Fucking stop that.
Stop it.
God.
I like it.
Oh yeah. God. Stop that shit. And you bastards in the chat, stop feeding it. You know who you are. You know who you are.
Mike.
Not to mention any names, Mike.
I didn't even think of him, but all right. Is Mike doing that?
I'm just messing with him.
Stop that, Mike.
I see him in the chat. I'm just messing with
him. God damn it, Mike.
Mikey likes it.
Yeah, he does.
I got to get him to do more impersonations for us.
Oh, man, those are good.
Do you do good impersonations?
Oh, man, when he's reading our super chats.
He's got a good speaking voice, yeah.
Christopher Walken's on point.
Yeah, his impersonations are great. I think that people would spend money just to listen to him impersonate while he's reading.
He needs to start a ASMR YouTube channel.
He could do it. Like his voice, his vocal talent's that good. I've told him like, hey man, go on Fiverr and sell your services. Yeah. Well, you still can before AI takes it all over.
Well, he did a great job last time he hosted too, and his production on the cameras and stuff's been really good. He put together a good pre-show storyboard too. He's learning quick. And Nuke too. Nuke's he was really quick at it. Except he's a button pusher.
Yeah,
keeps nuking the stream.
He likes to cause problems, doesn't he?
Well, no, he physically presses the button and cancels our stream.
he was leaving the stream when I was plugging.
That's right. I forgot about that. You were because you told me about that stream. Right? I didn't get a chance to join in on it, and then I was waiting for the end, and you're like, "Oh, I was plugging the stream." Like
he feels
the
bad.
Stream's dead. It died.
He's doing a Glenn. Glenn would push all the buttons all the time. It's like, stop it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, there's quite a bit I can do with my voice, but when it comes to impressions, I've got a very small repertoire, and it's probably partially because I've just never really worked at it, and some of the ones I can do somewhat well are like, who the hell remembers Walter Brennan nowadays? So it's
name's
like
familiar.
Brennan.
I might not remember it, but I've heard that name.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Bob Dylan and stuff like that. I had a buddy of mine. We'd get together on New Comic Book Nights back when it was on like Thursdays and then Wednesdays, and then we would get together, buy comics, and then head over to an Irish bar that was like right next door to the comic shop. A couple of reasons for that. One of which was there were a bunch of younger guys who were under 21 that kind of hung out with us, which were fine, but there was times when we didn't want the kids around. So we would go to the bar for dinner because the kids couldn't come along. So they had to kind of find their own fun. So we could have, man talk. And my buddy Kevin could do a really nice Jimmy Stewart. So we would, as the evening progressed, Jimmy Stewart and Bob Dylan would be doing duets into the night.
Nice.
Which was rather humorous to some of our other companions who would join us, or on those occasions when we'd get together on a non-comic night with ladies in tow. They, of course, found our, how women are with guys that are legitimately humorous, or at least can make them laugh. So,
yeah.
Anyway, so lots of fun. So, unfortunately, my imitations are rather limited, but I've not done too bad otherwise, not having that particular weapon in my arsenal.
Oh, it's funny and it's good. I'd like to see if Mike Steele could imitate Paul Harvey. Do you guys remember Paul Harvey?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So he did a stream in '66 called If the Devil Ran America. I want to do an episode of the Dragon Ship on it. You guys ever hear that one? 17 minutes.
Might. I know I've heard it. I was trying to think if it was one of the things I have in my collection, because one of the things I do as a guy who was into broadcasting and did that professionally, I also collect things. So I have several albums, which were the albums that used to get sent out to radio stations for like Casey Kasem's American Top 40 and the Dr. Demento show in the 70s and 80s. But I've also got CDs from the 90s for various Dick Clark and other radio syndicated shows and stuff. So I collect some of that stuff. So I've got a few Paul Harvey things.
Oh, go look for that one.
But I don't know that that's one I have.
Go look for that one, because I'll see if I can find it, drop it in the chat. That one is a prediction of the future, and you know it's a prediction of the future. It's like everything he said has actually happened between the time he said it in 66 and right now. If the devil ran America, it's like,
oh yeah, I've heard that speech. It's good.
And he died. I mean, it's just his opinion, yeah. But you know, in his personal life, he was a bit of a stoic for real.
Yeah.
So he was a kind of a philosopher, and he let that come through a little bit because, you know, he was obviously restricted because of networks and all that stuff. But he's an interesting voice, wasn't he?
Yes.
Paul Harvey.
I even think Ron Paul quoted that speech during his farewell address to Congress once he left.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me because that absolutely sounds like something he would have done.
Yeah.
Because it would have been in his.
Mike said it's not in his range.
Yeah.
One speaker that I was happy that his son actually kept all the tapes and actually is now uploaded them all to YouTube is Alan Watts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Alan Watts is good.
Yep.
Like his philosophy, I like it a lot. It's like modern day Western logic mixed in with old school Eastern religious philosophy.
Yep. And there's one of the main reasons why he did do that and gave talks was to get laid.
I can see it working.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially that esoteric Eastern philosophy.
Having a decent voice and being able to do some things with it is a very good tool to have in your box, especially with games. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Indeed. All right, we're coming up on the hour mark, and I want to keep these short because I know Robert's tired, Thor's tired, and AJ is definitely tired coming off of 6 12-hour shifts. Holy shit.
One more to go. 6 p.m. tomorrow.
Vince, I just dropped you the link to the Paul Harvey thing.
Let me...
It's like 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
All right, let me... Go ahead and...
People's jaws will hit the floor, though, especially the geeks.
Right.
Some old geeky stuff right there.
Hey, since we've got Thor here, I want to run something by him real quick. I was obviously getting ready for the game tonight. I was reading some stuff about Vikings and watching a show called Warriors, hosted by Terry Shepard, who is former Special Forces, and he was talking about the Vikings and the Battle of Malden and stuff like that. But one of the things he was talking about with Viking culture was the belief that when you are born, your fate has been woven into the great tapestry. So the day and time and place and way where you are going to die has already been woven in by the fates. So you have nothing to fear about your death because it's going to happen no matter what you do. So that, as a part of their psyche, freed them to live with whatever that time was that they had, with courage and bravery and daring to do things. And I was just kind of ruminating on that some this afternoon and thinking of the value in that. You know, if once you accept that the end date's out there and there's nothing you can do about it, so that means you're free to make the most of the time between now and then. And I wondered if you wanted to share any thoughts on that or expand on that before we wrap things up, since
Wait to lay a really heavy, in-depth question on Thor before we're ready to wrap up at the last minute mark. God damn it.
Thor could talk about this for hours.
I know he could, but I just...
Well, there's also the mute button if I have to.
I won't. I mean, obviously, I'm a fan of the Havamil out of Iceland. So if you look into it and you actually look, this is actually an ongoing struggle in the culture. That was a part of the warrior culture. And, you know, you had different factions. You had the Vikings, you had Yalm's Vikings, Berserk, and there was even some others. I have the names somewhere here, but they all had a little different take on that. Mm-hmm. And, you know, one of the big stories or myths in there was the struggle. I mean, a lot of them struggle with it because it wasn't a universal belief, but the warriors had that. very interesting culture that there's a lot of confusing myth around. And that was it. They kind of touched on it in the series Vikings, which I thought the first 3 seasons were great, and then it fell off a cliff. But one of the problems that Ragnar had was, he became friends with the Christian guy, and then he wanted to choose his death. He didn't want the fates to do it. He chose how he was going to go out. And he decided to go to England where he knew they would kill them, and he chose. And some of his last words is, I chose, kind of spit in the God's face,
Right.
So there was that struggle going on with them as well. But a really interesting culture. I mean, sure, they went out and conquered and took slaves, but the majority of their slaves, they were all yes, they forced them, but after a certain period of time, it was either 16 or 24 years. If you go and you do enough research, they could become basically a citizen or a Viking themselves, a part of the tribe. So they took those years and basically mentally conditioned their slaves. And so you don't hear about big slave revolts and things like that with them, because they actually use slaves in a different manner. Yes, they forced them, but they capture them usually from a battlefield or a downtrodden country, and then actually made them kind of equals by the time they'd finished their service. Of the interesting culture. I don't want to talk too long about it.
Yeah. There is the misconception that they're purely a biker gang on boats is wrong and from the wrong side of history. So
yeah, we know very little about it. If you watch any of those documentaries about the boats they found in Russia or Rus, where there's like 40 warriors stacked up, all dead. It's like almost like a ritual suicide. It's crazy. We know very little, but a lot of warrior cultures certainly handed that time out, so it gave them an extra psychological edge. And like, if I die, I die. I go to a better place anyway. You see some of that embedded in Islam. Yeah, under the Wahhabi sect. If I'm killing infidels and I am slaying down while I'm, completing this challenge for Allah, it doesn't matter. It was destined to be, and I'm going to a better place anyway. So, yeah, that's interesting philosophic question. Yeah, an interesting thing about the Vikings too is within 300 years, they had integrated just about everywhere they went.
Yep.
They had that medieval green period or warming period where obviously they had a population boom and they needed to reacquire new poon, so they spread out. Yeah, the technology was interesting. Those boats really did it for them,
Right.
Yeah,
and they were made a certain way so they could ride up and down the waves.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing that chaps my hide. Is there's all the self-help guys run around and they use that Cortez example. Man, what you have to do to be successful is you have to burn the boats. There's no way back. It's death or move forward. That's the biggest crock of shit, because that's not what Cortez did. He burned them to keep the Portuguese from seizing the boats.
Yeah,
they were enemies.
It was
and if it was Vikings, what they'd do is disassemble the boats and carry them with them, so they could make more weapons and shit. Those things were valuable,
Yeah.
But yeah, the burning the boat strategy, man, I've seen that thing at a certain time and circumstance. That's probably a good move. But about 95% of the time, better have a backup plan. Not burn the boat
really.
And be
Absolutely.
stupid. I've watched guys throw their fortunes away on stupid shit like that and convince themselves, well, I'm burning my boats, there's no way back.
Yeah.
All right. So now you'll just be stranded in the middle with nothing. That's not good.
Well, some of those guys, it's like they only have the one thing, and that's their stick, that's their grift, and they can't vary from that message. And it's like, a hammer is a wonderful tool, but sometimes it's better to use a screwdriver.
Yeah, and a whole lot of folks grabbed onto that, I think, in the last year. It's nothing but I heard. Of course, it's probably the logarithm. Hearing me and them talk about burning your boats, that's all I see on the goddamn YouTube.
Yeah.
Burn your boats. What? No. Good question.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, I guess, Vince, you want guys to do any housekeeping as far as where you can find them? Although I can't imagine anyone doesn't know how to find Thor.
Well, even before that, I do want to mention that all of our broadcasts going forward are members only for watching later. Sorry. If you can't spend the $4.99 per month to watch our episodes, then I'm not quite sure what to tell you. But if you're here now and watching, fantastic. You got it for free. If not, you're shit out of luck. So there's that. Let's see what else. Head over to Masculine Geek Life, join the newsletter, all that fun stuff. But if not, continue as you are and drop in the chat when you can. It's always good to see you, always good to interact. Our regulars, Chad, Bacon, X-Runner, Mictobus, Jean Simone LaRose. What else we got in here? We got some new faces as well. We got Mike. Is also an old hat, a new watcher, Viking Paradigm. Thank you for joining us, as always. A pleasure.
Carl.
Thank you, Terrell.
He just came to look at my shaft.
That's right. Show it one more time. Not like that. That's just ridiculous.
Here's the
The
shaft.
whole thing. Show the whole thing. Show the balls. Show the balls.
Hold it by the base, man.
Hold it by the base. Jesus Christ. That's a nice hat.
All right, so
that's a nice tool.
It isn't it though?
All
Got
right.
Odin with the
Sweet.
iPad on it.
Exactly.
Happy's going to offer you $20 for it.
It's great.
There's a Vezek beard.
$20.
$20 is $20.
Yeah,
Right,
and also Calibrate too. He's an old hat from here too, so thank you.
Let me put this one back down. Right, keep it.
Fit in the zipper. Jesus. All right, so where can everyone find you, Robert?
Robert Kuzlin on Twitter and the usual other places. So mostly you'll just find toys and other hobby stuff because I don't get into too much of anything else. So life's too short.
I know, right? Exactly. How about you, AJ?
You can find me on Instagram and at AJMK6R20 because I drive a Mark 6 Golf R. And then Twitter, ARMatthews33. And you can find me here on YouTube at Armed Details. And I'm on the Dragon Ship with Thor every Saturday.
There you go. And last but not least, Thor, where can everyone find you?
Oh, you can always find me on Rule Zero and the Dragon Ship. And, of course, on these D&D games. I really enjoy them. Thank you very much. Oh, and if you go to my website, becomedurable.com, you can check out the Dragons membership. AJ was just there. We had a great meeting every once a month, and I just slashed the price in half, and you can get a good deal there. And even better than that, every Dragon member is an affiliate, and AJ's an affiliate too. So if you hit him up, he'll give you a code, and he makes a little on it too. In fact, he makes half on it. So a lot of guys really like that. Yeah, and it's a good place to meet with men in an uncensored environment and get coaching, get mentoring. A lot of guys break off on the side and do projects. That's really cool, you know. So,
I'd say the biggest thing with the Dragons is, like, I bought it at the full price when I signed up for it and everything, and that right there doesn't even make up for the amount of access that you get. Like, John Fitch is in there, Laurent's in there, like guys who know their stuff.
Vince
are in there. Vince is in there.
Occasionally, yes.
Yeah, everybody kind of occasionally, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It is a good chat. I like scrolling through and I get a good laugh out of some stuff too, and I learn a lot too. I know I lurk a lot, but I'll occasionally make some comments. But it's a good.
We got guys from all over the world and different. Yeah. We got lawyers, doctors. Shit, we got nuclear technicians in there, and then you got a low life like me that's turning into Odin
with his hammer.
But you know what? It's all about that life fulfillment, man. Minimalism or not. I always think if you can just go to any restaurant you want, order anything you want off of the menu with no worries about what it costs, you're fucking rich.
Correct. That's true. And on that note, we're going to play a little commercial and then our ending music, and we're going to leave you all to the rest of your weeks. Thank you for joining us, everyone in the chat. Anyone who's watching later, exactly. Anyone who's watching later, you can't watch later unless you actually subscribe. And if you do, thank you. And on that note, enjoy your weekends.
All men are geeks. Stop denying it, you bastards. And some of us are tabletop role-playing game geeks. Join us for some non-SJW, non-woke, non-PC bullshit, old-school advanced Dungeons and Dragons. At least once per month, sometimes twice, we get together with Dungeon Master Rollo Tomasi and Drew Bay for some dice slinging in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. If you're tired of the woke assholes that abound in tabletop gaming, these sniveling, overly sensitive, easily offended dipshits, then be sure to tune into Masculine Geek Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. We're not politically correct. We're raw, unfiltered, and uncensored Dungeons and Dragons gamers. Get on board, pussies. We're making history. No broads allowed. Get your own game, ladies. Spurgs and tards need not apply.